just watch. Come on. Just the way you are. Gave you all I had and you tossed it in the trash. I'm the forever. 24 karat magic in the air.
And you had an incident yourself last year. I know you don't want to talk about it at length, but I want to ask you just really what you learned from that. You were found with cocaine in Las Vegas and so on. And for you at the time, I mean, potentially a big problem for you. But I think you dealt with it in a very mature way. What's your feeling about it looking back on it now?
I don't live my life with regrets, and I don't dwell on anything. I feel like it happened. It must have happened for a reason. I hope that I'm not here today because of what happened then. I hope I'm here today because of my achievement and because of my music.
What if the biggest pop star of your generation almost threw away his entire career for a bathroom mistake?
Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like.
And what if everything you thought you knew about his identity was more complicated than you ever imagined?
I'ma leave the door open.
Stick around because the final revelations about Bruno Mars will absolutely floor you. In the dimly lit bathroom of the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, September 2010, a young artist stared at his reflection. At 24 years old, Peter Gene Hernandez, better known as Bruno Mars, had just released his first single. Within hours, he'd be in handcuffs, facing felony charges that could end everything before it even started. But before we get to what happened that night, you need to understand how a kid from Honolulu became one of the most electrifying performers on the planet. Born on October 8, 1985 in Honolulu, Hawaii, Peter Gene Hernandez entered a world where music wasn't just entertainment, it was survival. His father, Peter Hernandez, was half Puerto Rican and half Ashkenazi Jewish, with roots tracing back to Hungary and Ukraine. His mother, Bernadette Bayout, brought Filipino and Spanish ancestry into the mix. Together, they created a household where music played constantly and performance was a family affair. Bernadette wasn't just a mother. She was a hula dancer and singer who recognized something special in her children. She encouraged every musical impulse, every creative spark.
My whole life, I feel like I've been struggling to do what I want to do, and that was music. And it just wasn't easy. I had to go through some things, but you can't regret it because I might not be here if it wasn't for that journey that I had to take.
When young Peter started imitating Elvis Presley at age 2, mimicking the King's hip swivels and crooning voice, she didn't laugh it off. She nurtured it.
Like he's singing, he's dancing, and his lip.
His what?
His lip.
His lip?
Yeah.
What is it about his lip that you like? What is it?
This.
By age 4, Peter was already performing in his father's band, dressed in a miniature Elvis costume for a show called Viva Elvis.
Oh, Elvis.
You say Shoes is my favorite song because it's like a lot of rock and roll in it.
The kid could work a crowd before he could read. His father nicknamed him Bruno after wrestler Bruno Sammartino because of his confidence and swagger. The name stuck. Growing up, Bruno absorbed everything: Michael Jackson, Elvis, James Brown, Prince. He wasn't just listening, he was studying, learning the runs, the moves, the way these legends commanded attention. But Hawaii, for all its beauty, had limits for someone with dreams as big as Bruno's. In 2003, at age 17, Bruno made the move to Los Angeles. He had $100 in his pocket and a guitar on his back. What he didn't have was a plan for what came next. Los Angeles chewed up and spit out thousands of talented kids every year, and Bruno was about to learn that talent alone wasn't enough. For the next several years, he lived in near poverty, sleeping on floors, playing poker to pay rent, writing songs that nobody wanted. He got dropped from his first record label, Motown Records, in 2006. The rejection stung, but it forced him to pivot. If he couldn't make it as a solo artist, maybe he could make it as a songwriter. Enter the Smeezentins, a production team Bruno formed with Philip Lawrence and Ari Levine. Together, they started crafting hits for other artists.
Before anyone knew who I was producing music for other artists. And I had to be able to produce for a rock artist, a hip-hop artist, all kinds of different music. So it's my job to study all kinds of music.
They wrote Right Round for Flo Rida. They penned Wavin' Flag for Kanan. In 2009, they caught a break when they co-wrote Nothing on You with rapper B.O.B. featuring Bruno on the hook. The song exploded.
Wasted, they got nothing
Bruno's smooth vocals on the chorus became instantly recognizable, and suddenly, labels that had ignored him for years were calling. When B.O.B. performed the song on the Ellen DeGeneres show on March 22, 2010, it was Bruno's voice that people remembered. Ellen herself was captivated.
I'd like to thank Ellen, everyone. You know, this was the first, me and B.O.B. We performed Nothing on You. This was like our first time performing it on TV.
Yeah. So. Nothing on You hit #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 in May 2010.
Did they got nothing on you, baby?
Weeks later, Bruno followed up with Billionaire featuring Travie McCoy, where once again his vocals carried the hook.
I wanna be a billionaire so fucking bad.
2 massive hits in 1 year, and Bruno Mars hadn't even released his own album yet. Aaron Bay Schuck, a young executive at Atlantic Records and the stepson of Star Trek legend Leonard Nimoy, signed Bruno to his first major solo deal. The debut album, Doo-Wops and Hooligans, was scheduled for October 2010. Everything was falling into place. Then came September 19, 2010. Bruno was partying at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas when police found him in a bathroom with 2.6 grams of cocaine. He was arrested and charged with felony cocaine possession. The headlines were brutal. Bruno Mars, drug bust threatens rising star's career.
And you had an incident yourself last year. I know you don't want to talk about it at length, but I want to ask you just really what you learned from that. You were found with cocaine in Las Vegas and so on. And for you at the time, I mean, potentially a big problem for you. But I think you dealt with it in a very mature way. What's your feeling about it, looking back on it now?
I don't live my life with regrets, and I don't dwell on anything. I feel like it happened. It must have happened for a reason. I hope that I'm not here today because of what happened then. I hope I'm here today because of my achievement and because of my music.
The kid who'd worked his entire life for this moment watched it potentially slip away. In a 2013 GQ interview, Bruno admitted he lied to police that night, claiming it was his first time using drugs when it wasn't. He was drunk, scared, and desperate to make the whole thing disappear. But this wasn't going away. Bruno accepted a plea deal, $2,000 fine, 200 hours of community service, drug counseling. If he stayed out of trouble for a year, the charges would be dismissed. In January 2012, after fulfilling every condition, his record was cleared. The incident became what Bruno called a life lesson, a wake-up call that forced him to refocus his priorities and commit fully to his music. But here's what people forget. While Bruno was dealing with legal troubles, he was also preparing to release the album that would define him. Doo-Wops and Hooligans dropped on October 4, 2010, just weeks after his arrest. The album was a masterclass in genre blending: pop, reggae, R&B, soul, all filtered through Bruno's retro sensibility.
Go with it, and I will go real.
Lead single Just the Way You Are became a global phenomenon, hitting #1 in multiple countries and earning Bruno his first Grammy nomination.
Just the way you are.
Then came Grenade.
I'd catch a grenade for you.
Then The Lazy Song, featuring Leonard Nimoy in the music video, a favor secured by Bruno's label exec, Aaron Bay Schuck.
Today I don't feel like doing anything.
The album went triple platinum, and suddenly Bruno Mars wasn't just a hook singer, he was a star. Between 2010 and 2012, Bruno toured relentlessly, building a reputation as one of the best live performers in pop music. He moved like James Brown, sang like Stevie Wonder, and connected with audiences like Michael Jackson. The comparisons to legends weren't hyperbole, they were earned. But there was something deeper happening in Bruno's personal life during this period. Bernadette Bayat, Bruno's mother and biggest champion, was battling health issues. The woman who'd encouraged him to chase his dreams, who'd supported him through every failure, was sick.
Let's see in a bit.
That is just beyond your reach.
On June 1, 2013, Bernadette died of a brain aneurysm in Honolulu. She was 55 years old. Bruno was devastated. He canceled shows, he retreated. When he finally spoke about it, he described his mother as my world and said losing her felt like losing his purpose. The grief poured into to his music, making his performances even more emotionally charged. Every time he stepped on stage, he carried her with him. In December 2012, Bruno released Unorthodox Jukebox, his sophomore album. If doo-wops and hooligans announced his arrival, Unorthodox Jukebox cemented his dominance. Locked Out of Heaven channeled the Police's reggae rock energy. When I Was Your Man was a stripped-down piano ballad that showcased his vocal vulnerability.
And held your hand.
Treasure brought 80s funk back into mainstream pop. The album debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200 and eventually hit number 1. It won the Grammy for Best Pop Vocal Album in 2014, and Bruno performed a tribute to the Police at the Grammys that had Sting himself grinning in the audience. But the biggest moment came in January 2014 when Bruno was asked to perform at Super Bowl 48. The halftime show is the most watched musical performance in America, and Bruno delivered. Over 115 million people watched him bounce across the stage, playing drums, singing live, and commanding the crowd with 0 guest stars, just pure talent. It was a defining performance that silenced any doubters. Then, in 2014, Bruno met Mark Ronson. Ronson, the British producer behind Amy Winehouse's Back to Black, was working on a new album and wanted Bruno's energy. They got together in the studio, and within one session, they created Uptown Funk. The song was an explosion of horns, bass, and swagger, a throwback to the 70s and 80s funk filtered through modern production. When Uptown Funk dropped in November 2014, it didn't just become a hit, it became a cultural phenomenon.
Girl, sit your hallelujah, 'cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you.
The song spent 14 consecutive weeks at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, tied for the second longest run in chart history. It won Record of the Year and Best Pop Duo/Group Performance at the Grammys. Bruno performed it everywhere, including a legendary appearance on The Ellen DeGeneres Show in March 2015, where he surprised the audience by walking through the crowd and inviting Ellen to dance with him.
I said it's your hallelujah, 'cause Uptown Funk don't give it to you.
That performance has over 75 million views on YouTube, making it one of the most watched talk show performances ever. Bruno's third album, 24K Magic, arrived in November 2016. It was a full embrace of 90s R&B and New Jack Swing, dripping with nostalgia and confidence.
24 karat magic in the air.
The title track became a party anthem. That's What I Like was smooth seduction.
Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like.
Finesse, especially the remix featuring Cardi B in 2018, brought in living color style choreography back to music videos. At the 2018 Grammys, Bruno swept all 6 categories he was nominated for, including Album of the Year, Record of the Year, and Song of the Year. It was a clean sweep, the first for a male solo artist in over a decade. But even as Bruno reached the peak of his success, controversy followed him. In March 2018, activist and writer Saren Sensei released a video accusing Bruno of cultural appropriation. She argued that Bruno, with his racial ambiguity, was profiting from Black music and culture without giving proper credit or facing the challenges Black artists face.
You can't look at an interview, you can't find an interview where I am not talking about the entertainers that have come before me. And the only reason why I'm here is because of James Brown, is because of Prince, Michael. That's the only reason why I'm here. I'm growing up as a kid watching Bobby Brown saying, okay, if that's what it takes to make it, then I gotta learn how to do the Running Man. I gotta learn how to do the moonwalk. That's it. And this music comes from love. If you can't hear that, then I don't know what to tell you.
The debate raged online. Some defended Bruno, pointing to his consistent acknowledgement of his influences. Others argued that acknowledgement wasn't enough, that Bruno's success was built on a foundation laid by Black artists who never received the same recognition or financial rewards. Bruno addressed it directly directly in a 2021 interview, explaining that his music was an homage, not theft. He hoped future generations would build on his work the same way he built on the legends who came before him. In 2017, while on his 24K Magic World Tour, Bruno met Anderson .Paak, an incredibly talented drummer, singer, and producer. They hit it off immediately. Both grew up on the same musical influences, Stevie Wonder, Parliament Funkadelic, New Edition, and both believed in live instrumentation over programmed beats.
Me and Andy met on tour in 2017, right? Yeah, we was on tour together, and then from there we started hanging out and listening to music. He put me on some music, I put him on some music, and then we went to the studio a couple times, wrote some songs that ended up on Ventura, right? Right. And this quarantine, I called Andy up, said come to the studio, and kind of snowballed into something big.
During the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, Bruno called Anderson. With no tours, no distractions, they locked themselves in the studio. The result was Silk Sonic, a full collaboration album dripping with 70s soul and funk. Their first single, Leave the Door Open, dropped in March 2021. Bootsy Collins, the legendary Parliament Funkadelic bassist, heard the track and declared they needed a name. He christened them Silk Sonic. The song was smooth, romantic, and instantly classic, hitting #1 on the Billboard Hot 100.
My first song that I ever released. And Ellen was the first person that allowed us to sing that song on her platform, and that song became #1 very shortly after that performance.
I can spot talent. And I mean, really, seriously, though, you were such an amazing performer. And now what you're doing with Silk Sonic with Anderson .Paak is brilliant.
Come on.
Congratulations on the 4 Grammys.
Oh, thanks.
That was...
Look how happy we are.
As he said, in the business is known as a clean sweep.
Clean sweep.
And we went to go see you. Twitch and I saw you in Vegas, and y'all are unbelievable. And now you've added dates to it?
Yes.
The full album, An Evening with Silk Sonic, arrived in November 2021. Songs like Smokin' Out the Window, Skate, and After Last Night felt like time travel. At the 2022 Grammys, Silk Sonic won all 4 categories they were nominated for, including Record of the Year and Song of the Year.
You have to be sick of the song, you have to be sick of each other, you gotta push yourself. And we're trying to, Andy pushing me to places I've never been. I'm hoping I'm doing the same for him.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's what it is. It's like until we feel it, and we felt it would leave the door open.
Yeah.
He's singing notes, I'm singing notes that we probably shouldn't be singing.
Right.
We're gonna add 9 more shows in August. So get your tickets because this show is so much fun. We're dancing and singing our hearts out.
Bruno's Las Vegas residency at Park MGM became one of the hottest tickets in the city. Night after night, he delivered sold-out performances that left audiences breathless. But in March 2024, rumors surfaced claiming Bruno had a $50 million gambling debt to MGM Resorts. The story exploded online, with headlines suggesting Bruno's casino habit had spiraled out of control. MGM Resorts swiftly issued a statement calling the claims completely false, emphasizing their long-standing relationship rooted in mutual respect with Bruno. The rumors were debunked, but not before they spread like wildfire. Then came January 2025, when news broke that Bruno and his longtime partner, model Jessica Caban, had ended their relationship after nearly 14 years together. The two had been together since 2011, navigating the pressures of fame and maintaining a relatively private relationship. The breakup was reportedly amicable, with both focusing on their respective careers. Bruno has no children and has remained private about his personal life following the split. Sources close to the singer suggest he's currently single and focusing on new music projects. Speaking of new projects, Bruno has been teasing new solo material throughout 2024 and into 2025. While Silk Sonic gave fans a taste of his retro sensibilities, industry insiders suggest his next album will push into new sonic territory, potentially incorporating more electronic and experimental elements while still honoring his vintage influences. He's also been spotted in the studio with several high-profile producers and artists, though no official collaborations have been announced yet.
When you see him on stage and you see him and the Free Nationals, you could tell that everything that he talked about, all right, we're listening to the same stuff. And he comes from the same background of performing live and gigging. and probably doing the bar circuit and birthday parties and whatever you got to do to make it out. And when we got in the studio, that's what it was. It was just like you're like your friend. So it brings you back to this time of why you fell in love with music in the first place, like being in the garage with your buddy and playing the guitar and him on drums and just getting excited over the music you're creating.
Beyond music, Bruno continues to expand his business empire. Selva Ray Rum, which he co-founded, has become one of the fastest-growing premium rum brands in the world. The brand's success has added significantly to Bruno's estimated net worth, which currently stands at approximately $175 million as of 2025. Bruno's Vegas residency continues to be extended due to overwhelming demand. His ability to sell out shows night after night demonstrates his enduring appeal and the timeless quality of his music. Fans who attend describe the experience as transcendent, a masterclass in showmanship where every song, every dance move, and every vocal run is executed with precision. Bruno has 4 sisters, Jamie, Tiara, Tahiti, and Presley, who perform together as the Lilas. His brother Eric Hernandez has been the drummer in Bruno's band, the Hooligans, since the beginning. The family remains tight-knit, often gathering to honor their late mother's memory and celebrate the musical legacy she instilled in all of them. Television and film haven't been Bruno's primary focus, but he's made memorable appearances. He voiced Roberto in the animated films Rio 2, 2014,
Our precious jewel has returned. I'll be the first to say welcome back.
appeared as himself in multiple Saturday Night Live performances, and has been featured in numerous music documentaries. His Super Bowl halftime shows in 2014, 2016 with Coldplay and Beyoncé, and his rumored consideration for future performances keep him in the cultural conversation beyond just his albums. The cultural appropriation debate continues to surface periodically, especially on social media. Critics point to how Bruno has been able to navigate musical spaces that Black artists created, often with more commercial success and fewer barriers. Supporters counter that Bruno has never hidden his influences, that his mixed-race heritage complicates simple categorizations, and that gatekeeping musical genres ultimately hurts everyone. What's undeniable is that Bruno Mars has created a lane entirely his own. He's a student of music history who doesn't just copy, he synthesizes, reinterprets, and adds his own flavor. His live performances are unmatched in contemporary pop music. His ability to play multiple instruments, write, produce, and perform at the highest level makes him a rare talent in an era of manufactured pop stars. Looking ahead to the rest of 2025 and beyond, fans are hungry for new Bruno Mars music. The question isn't whether he'll deliver, it's what form that delivery will take. Will he lean further into the retro sound that's made him famous? Will he experiment with contemporary production? Will there be another Silk Sonic album, or is Bruno ready to reclaim the solo spotlight? What's clear is that Bruno Mars has already secured his legacy as one of the defining artists of his generation, someone who bridged eras and genres while creating timeless music that will be played at weddings, parties, and quiet moments for decades to come.